Timers, we're good? Now for our fifth speech for today, Swati Pawan with Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata.
I came across this quote last week by Franklin P. Adams. You can learn many things from children. For instance, how much patience you have. Well, I, as a mother of a 3-year-old daughter, I have none left. I'm going bonkers. Mr. Contestant and fellow Toastmasters, do you have responsibilities that rush you off your feet, but there's no way you can shirk them? My problem is not kids, they are a blessing. It's the responsibilities that come with it. Feeding, potty training, watching the silly Umizoomi cartoon, where they rescue the blue mermaid and find the missing lunchbox. You know, all skills you can use when you get older. Raise your hands if you have kids.
2 kids.
Or remember being one. When I was growing up, my parents used to speak and I listened. Nowadays, kids talk and parents listen. Every time I take my daughter Adya to Target, she is quiet as we stroll past the huge aisles. But once we get to the toys aisle, she races to it like a Ford Mustang, wraps her tiny arms around the toy cars and grabs a handful of them. Adya, can you take one? No, I want all, Mama. My home is full of toy cars, disassembled, toppled, stripped. It looks like a Fisher-Price chop shop. Besides, you don't know what triggers their curiosity. If you were walking with us this 4th of July weekend in an upscale mall, commonly called the Miller Park Mall, you'd see it was packed with evening shoppers and kids. You could hear kids playing screeching in delight in the play area. We passed various outlets smelling churros, freshly baked pretzels at Auntie Anne. And once, as we walked toward the elevator, she stopped in her tracks. Mama, not this one. Come on, I show you. And she was pointing at the mall escalator. It was her first time. She was pumped. We stepped on it, went all the way up. Once we got off, she shuffled forward, went wide-eyed and said, again. And we went all the way down. Actually, by this time, I was looking for an emergency exit. She grabbed my arms and we stepped on the escalator again. And then we went up, down, up, down, up, down, non-stop for the next 2 hours.
Oh,
I mean, why waste money on Disney World? Later, I took her sweaty face in my palms and said, Adya, the next time you do this, take Daddy. Well, the upsides of being a parent is you get loads of advice, often unsolicited like marketing calls. And some of the best advice I've got so far are set timeouts, have more babies, and mix more wine in the food. Well, my food. Still, my daughter is my boss baby. With all the tantrums, demands, you give her some bad hair and a Twitter account, this kid could be the president. Despite the advice and tantrums, when I am tired, I plonk on the couch, look down and rub my forehead. And she drops her toys, climbs on my lap and says, I love you. That makes my day. No matter what the responsibility is, it's how much you learn from it and grow as a person. And my daughter is teaching me how to be joyful and live in the moment. So just to de-stress, I got a bottle of wine and downloaded some songs. One is Miley Cyrus's Ready, Set, Don't Throw Tantrums. Taylor Swift's Shake It Off, Stick Only to the Elevator. Lion King's Can't Wait to Be Free. And Lion King's If You Behave, No Worries for the Rest of My Life, Hakuna Matata. How many of y'all have responsibilities that rush you off your feet and tire you down? But before giving up, think what you're learning. Learn, grow, and say, Hakuna Matata. Stop contested.
Do the judges need more time?
More confident.
Okay, now for our final speaker of the day, Alicia Khan with Life Lessons. Life Lessons.
Hello everyone, fellow Toastmasters, Chief First, no guess. I'm Alicia Khan, and when 2 weeks ago I said yes, I was going to join this contest, and when I said yes, my toes automatically went curled. Sometimes we each have a body sensation, like when we're nervous or something. We might not know it's there, but that's my body sensation. Curled toes. It stayed that way till last night, after I finished preparing for today. I don't know why I get so nervous, but it really is an opportunity to come up in front of a room. You know, my mentor, Jay, was like, why are you doing this? You know, I was like, I don't want to do it, I'm going to drop. He's like, why are you doing this? Just go. I was like, I want to have fun and I want to make a difference. And of course, improve my skills. So that's why I said yes, and I got present to why I said yes, and I'm going to come up here and add some humor. When I said yes to the contest, it automatically kind of removed a lid I had shut. See, for the past 2 years, I've been taking care of my mom, and I've been so serious. Serious with the doctors, serious at work, serious with my money, my home, like everything just became serious. And then when I said yes, for the past 2 weeks, I've just been lighter, freer, at work making jokes, like just looking for the humor, where I can add that joke. So that's why I say to you today, say yes and take a chance. And if you have any lids, remove them, because something becomes possible when you say yes. So today, what I want to share about is life lessons, right? So I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, come from a big family, 2 brothers, 3 sisters. Who here comes from a big family? Anyone? Few of you. So if you're from a smaller family, just imagine the chaos growing up times 10. Because now all of us have opinions, all of us have wants or needs, right? Our home had like 2 rules. One is that you don't have an opinion until you're 18. The other rule is like the parents are always right and they're in control.
Not left.
So, right? So some of you may have had those rules or similar rules in your home. So with that said, my parents of course had some disciplinary ways of keeping us disciplined at home. Today, in America, we discipline our kids probably by saying, go to your room and think about what you did. Or stay in the corner and be quiet, right? But in Trinidad, back in those days, the discipline was, we used our words and sentences as well, right? Like Americans do here. But we also had an add-on. The add-on was, if you didn't do something too serious, was, I told you to never do that again. Bam! Or it would probably look like, if you use your words, it's like, I told you to never do that again. Okay, so some of you may think that was abuse. But for, some of you may know like that was how we were brought up in the islands. My great-great-grandparents came from India, so Indians here, don't judge us. Okay, yeah, you probably had some little stuff going on at home. So that's how it was back then. We didn't need therapy, but we were probably told like, you guys don't need therapy. Maybe we actually do. So that's pretty much the disciplinary back then. Now we don't do that anymore. Now we're kind of like, assimilating to the American culture. We stand at the wall and we go to our rooms and think about what we did. So sometimes the table gets turned, because now my mom lives with me. So she sometimes has to think about what she did. Okay, so with that said, back in Trinidad, right, my neighbor had two kids, Tommy and Johnny, right? And they were so cute, but really, really wicked, right? So Tommy, they were just a handful and really, really mischievous. We had a local church close by, so the mom asked the pastor, can you talk to them about, behaving, So he said, okay, we'll send Tommy over at 1, send Johnny over at 2, and I'll counsel them. We're going to fix this problem. So Tommy goes over to the church, sits in the office, and then the pastor goes in front of him. The pastor says, Tommy, where is God? Tommy stared at him, and after a few minutes, he ran out of the office, straight home, across the street, opened the door, ran upstairs to his brother's room, shut the door behind him, and he said, Johnny was like, what happened? He's like, they lost God and they think we took him. That was one customized from Joel Osteen. I love Joel. So with that said, some of the lessons, right, highlighting, with Tommy, with disciplining the kids, my lesson there was to never complain to your dad when he comes home, because you're going to get it from him, and tomorrow you might get it again from your mom. And the lesson with Tommy and Johnny is like, sometimes kids are going to be kids, they're going to be mischievous. You just have to find a way to work around them. And then, sometimes it takes a village to raise a kid. So look at the teachers, look at incorporating the priest or the pastor, right, into how we can cause our kids to be the best. And with that said, for all of us, let's look at our life lessons, what we can learn from all of it, and how we can incorporate this in our life. All right, so I'll remove some lids today, and let's learn some lessons. Thank you.
Take a minute for the judges.
Judges, please hold the ballot up so that the ballot counter can come and collect. The anonymous judges.
I was about to say, like, wait a minute.
The standing is okay, everyone? Oh.
Get the back. For not the judge, maybe we should just.
Yeah, just start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, so everybody feel free to. In the meantime, while, we'll do break, yeah. But you guys did ask me for the Yo Mama jokes, and I'm not going to do that now. But then after listening to your speech, Sasha, I know that I learned today that, if you're West Indian, 3 followed by multiple 3s. It's a nightmare situation. And we have a lot of the Indians have a similar problem, especially right after independence, when we were still left with the vestige of, the colonialism, and English was still the administrative language of the Indian government. Somebody sent me this recent text from back then, a set of leave letters that was applied. Anyway, feel free to grab anything, right? So I'm just going to read a few selective ones. I'm sure some of you can relate to this, but so these are from around about the time when people were applying for leave, as we call it, in India.
As I'm
Yeah, as my mother-in-law has expired and I'm responsible for it, please grant me 10 days leave. And here is another one from, I'm not going to name the states and everything, it doesn't matter. Since I have to go to my village to sell my land along with my wife, please sanction me 1 week leave.